Welcome to That Worldview podcast and Missions Moments. Today, I'm talking with my friend Vlad, who is a business owner, and he's done lots of different missions trips with us. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name. It's hard for me to pronounce, so you can tell everybody.
Kravchenko.
See, doesn't he say that so well?
So well. I've been saying it for 28 years.
Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I've actually been working for Vlad's company over the week since I've been visiting people around and doing stuff, and he was like, hey, you should come work for a bit. And I was like, great. So we've been staying at his house and hanging out and working, having great conversations. He's keeping me up late at night talking. It's been great, though. Vlad, thank you for being on the podcast.
Hey, it's really nice to be here. It was a great pleasure to have you stay at our house with your friend Micaiah. You guys came down from Wenatchee and helped me out actually a lot because I blew my back out.
We've been calling each other old men for the last week.
Yeah. Well, you are way older than I am.
Even though we're the same age. I know, it's crazy how that works.
Well, 4 months, right? But yeah, I blew my back out, and it was just in time because you were coming down here anyways, and you really helped me out with work. So
glad I could help. So
it was nice hanging out too.
Yeah, we really had a great time. So this conversation, we're going to kind of talk about business first. I'll ask you some questions about the business and just give us your successes, failures, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
So how did you get to starting the business? Kind of how did that work?
Yeah.
I guess just abbreviate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But how did that go?
Yeah. Well, right off the bat, I told David I'm not the guy for this podcast. I don't know how to run a business well. He's like, well, you have a business for like 6 years now, right? I'm like, yes, but it is not functioning very well. And he's like, well, I think it's doing better than the people that don't have a business. So anyways, I agreed to do the podcast because if anything, and I can just share my, what did not work for me and you can learn from that, great. If I'll share what worked for me, and if you can learn from that, great. So how it started, I was always into doing video since I was a teenager, and I would make skateboarding edits and scootering videos and just all sorts of funny videos with my friends. And I thought that I would love to be a filmer or something with like movies when I was a kid. And then it came time to go to college, and none of the college around me had a filming or filmmaking program. So I just kind of went with a practical choice, and I decided to do nursing. The reason I decided to go with nursing is because my friends, a lot of my friends had parents that were nurses, and they seemed to be making quite a bit of money, and it seemed like a good job. They seemed happy, so I just kind of looked around at my friends' parents. I'm like, well, my parents are kind of working jobs I wouldn't want to see, but their parents seem happy. I'm going to go for that. And meanwhile, I went to the nursing, school and the program. I needed some cash on the side, so I worked for a guy doing roof and gutter cleaning. He just kind of found me on Craigslist and went from there. Now, during the nursing program, about 4 years into, the schooling and everything, I got kicked out of nursing. And that was like a big, bummer for me. And I didn't really know what to do. Like I just got kicked out of the nursing program. It was for something that I felt like I was not at fault for. And I was disappointed, but at the same time, kind of excited for what God had in store for me. I took it really well. I really trusted in Romans 8:28, where it says that everything works together for the better to those that love God. And I was just asking God, what do you want me to do next? So I was really open for God kind of to push me in any direction. I was even thinking maybe God will want me to be a missionary and I'll move away or do something like that. I really just started praying. And what I knew how to do at the time was I knew how to do roof and gutter cleaning because that's what I did for that man that I worked for previously. So I went and got an LLC license, and I got business insurance, and I just started trying to. Well, that was the beginning of Moss Away. That's the name of the company, is Moss Away, and I've been in business now for 6 years.
Nice. Just for our listeners, kind of just give us a breakdown of getting your LLC, stuff like that. Because I think a lot of young people, when they're intimidated by starting a business, I honestly was intimidated to start a business. And just kind of, what did it cost you roughly, and like what could they do to really be on their way to doing business? And obviously there are different details depending on the business you're in, but it doesn't cost that much to get an LLC. It doesn't take an arm and a leg to just get started. It just does. It takes effort. It takes some obviously forethought and some determination. But kind of run us through how that worked for you.
Yeah. So it was easy for me to start that business because I knew how to do it. And
The work.
Yeah, I knew how to do the work, not the business aspect at all.
Right.
I actually want to say that I did not have anybody in my life that ran a business or knew how to run a business. None of my parents, friends, nobody. So I didn't really have anyone to turn to and ask. So I did have to figure it all out on my own. And, this might help you guys that are also listening, where you're like, I have no idea how to do this. Well, I'm the kind of person that doesn't really think too much. I don't really like theory. I just like to do. And, if it flops, it flops. So what I did is I knew that my church that I go to has a tax guy, like an accounting guy, and he did my family's taxes. So I came to him. I'm like, hey, what does it take, for me to open up a business? And he, said a lot of terms I didn't understand. I asked him to dumb it down for me, and so he's like, okay, you can file an LLC, which is a limited liability company, online by yourself. It should cost you around $100, and then you need to get insurance for your business, and you should be good to go. So I didn't want to, or he said, I can file it for you, which will cost you a little bit of money. I decided not to mess with it. I paid him $100 to file it for me, and the license cost me $100, so $200, and any of you can get an LLC. I think it's still the prices today. So that means you are now officially a business. Next step is you need business insurance, so that if you damage a client's roof or property or anything, the insurance will cover that. The insurance does not cover you, and if you get hurt or whatever, that's different. But you need to have insurance before you do a project so that you don't get sued. I just asked my, accountant guy from the church, hey, just tell me who to call. I don't know any insurance people. I don't know how to research that. Just give me a phone number. So he gave me a phone number, and just whatever price they gave me, I kind of went with that. It was $1,200 for a year of insurance. So that's so far $1,400, and I was legally licensed and able to do work.
That's awesome. So you got the business, you got the insurance. So what did you do for work? How did you kind of build your clientele? What were the things that you learned from doing that? Because you knew how to do the work, but you really had to start from scratch, considering your clientele and, a base,
Yeah.
customer base.
Yeah. So when I worked for my, previous boss, I took care of a lot of the jobs by myself. He trusted me a lot, and I would just collect the check and bring it to him at the end of the day. I would take his van, and I just kind of knew everything, how it works in terms of the work, but not necessarily the business aspect. So I struggled a lot. I struggled a lot the first year finding clients. It was actually very difficult, but if I would have known certain things, it would have been a lot easier. For me, how I started is I started posting Craigslist ads, which cost $5 per ad, and I would post like about four to six ads, which would cost me $20 or 30 or whatever. And from those ads, I would maybe get like one job. I'd get a few phone calls, and some of it would be jobs. And it would get me a little bit of cash to, um, keep going, keep living, and keep putting some more ads out. But Craigslist did not work super well with that. So I decided to try Angie, which is a service that charges you $50 per lead to send you information of an interested client. They'll send you the client's phone number, their address, their email, and you have to pay them like $50 for that. And so I would try to call them as soon as possible, email them, do whatever I can because I just paid for that information. And sometimes they wouldn't even pick up the phone, but you're out of luck. You just paid that money already. So it was very, very expensive. And I would maybe get one out of every 4 leads would turn into a job. So I would spend around $200 on leads, and then I'd get like one job, which on average is $500 for a roof cleaning. And nowadays it's a little bit more, but back then it was around 500. So I knew I was making a $300 profit there, and that gave me enough to spend, another like $200, and I could keep like $100 for myself. So I really just put in a lot of money trying to get more and more clients. And I think at the end of that first year, I spent almost $7,000 with that company just on leads, clients, information of people that are interested. And, it's like that first year was just hard because it was so expensive. Fast forward to today, I don't really do any advertising at all. And there's still clients reaching out daily. But it takes time, to grow that. So Google, people will type it in, moss removal in my city, and I'll pop up on Google now because I already have reviews and because, my website's been there for a while and things like that. But starting out can be expensive, but it is worth it.
Kind of just starting where you can at grassroots level. You said you had done like door to door for a little bit, and that was really draining.
Yeah, I would do door to door for like maybe an hour or 2, and that felt like an 8-hour work day for me on the roof. I would absolutely rather do a full day's worth of work rather than go door knocking for like an hour or 2. It was just so stressful and draining for me that you're bugging somebody that doesn't necessarily want that service, and you're just asking them. And I would try to be like really nice about it, and that doesn't necessarily work either. Like the people that are really good at door to door, you got to be you got to be kind of cold, and you got to be used to rejection, and you can't take it personally. For me, door to door was like really hard.
So would you suggest someone kind of do that, or just
Yes.
the door to door?
Yeah, I would suggest you try it to see what it's like because it might be for you. And door to door is very successful for a lot of people. It's free, first of all. You don't have to pay money. I'm just the kind of person that I would rather give away my hard-earned money not to do door to door than to do it. But I would suggest anybody start with these 3 things. Start with door to door, start with some cheap Craigslist ads, and then start with some cheap Facebook posts. Actually free Facebook posts. There's lots of different groups on Facebook that you can join for free. It's like, whatever city you're in, it might have like a community group of contractors in the area, or it might have a community group of like families, or there might be like a mom's group. I don't know if they'll let you in, but if they do, cool, And
Your mom can do it for you.
Yeah, neighborhood, whatever. This neighborhood, if you live in this kind of neighborhood area, it's a group for those. So join as many Facebook groups as you can, and try to post a few posts saying, hey guys, I am a new business in this area. Be honest about yourself. I'm trying to build, this roof cleaning company, and would you give me the honor of giving you some free estimates on what this would cost? Things like that. And you will get jobs.
Yeah, there's actually my brother Darren has done kind of a light business, and he was kind of telling me some of the things that he did as well for advertising. And you kind of said some of them, ads on like Craigslist, Facebook listings is probably one of the most,
Yeah.
the quickest probably, and the cheapest
Yeah.
ones you can do that will probably have a somewhat decent effectiveness. Also, nice neighborhoods. Sometimes you have to look for the demographic of work. Quite frankly, people that are living paycheck to paycheck are not going to pay somebody to come do their roof. Like, it's just not going to happen. My brother Darren actually went to, for the Christmas lighting, he would go to these like really nice gated communities, and a lot of nice gated communities actually have their own magazine that they send to all of the different people, and it's like different things that they're doing in that gated community, businesses. And so Darren spent, like, I think it was $1,000 for 4 seasonal, 3 months a year for 3 years or something to be in the magazine. And so far, Darren has gotten, like, I think 3 or 4, like, $2,000 to $3,000 light jobs. Like, that totally paid for itself. And he's only in his second year of doing it.
Yeah.
The seasonal lights. So getting into magazines possibly and things of that nature. And like you said, you don't do very much advertising now because you have a big enough customer base that a lot of it's just word of mouth even too, where they find you on
Yeah.
the internet.
Yeah. About half of it is word of mouth.
Yeah, so it's really cool. And something I liked, so I guess we'll shift the conversation a little bit. What are some mistakes that you made or things that you learned in building a business that, like, you would either do over or that you're doing now that you weren't doing before?
Yeah, there's a lot. So this is where I can be of most value. And this podcast is mistakes that I have made in the business, to where I can kind of hopefully pass that on to some of you guys that are considering starting a business. I can be helpful of what not to do. So the first mistake I made was I kept too much money for myself. And I did not put enough money back into the business to grow. So, me being a young 23, 24-year-old, kind of starting out when I already got, like, a good amount of jobs, and you get a good paycheck. And, it's summertime, it's hot. I'm like, I need to get a jet ski.
And you weren't married? You were living at home?
No, I was not married. I was living at home. It contributed to rent sometimes, but it was not like a consistent thing. And I just had a lot of freedom, and I just did not really think about the future much. I thought about the moment, and I wanted to have fun in the moment. So I got a used jet ski. After a season, it blew up on me. And then I had a truck at the moment that I needed for work, and it was it was a little bit nicer, so I used it for daily driving as well. I decided I need a 4-inch lift kit for it, and then I spent 2-3 days doing that and putting in a lot of money into that, and then new tires and just all these things that, like, a young guy would spend money on that are really unnecessary. Like, you could totally go without, but what you could do is put that money back into the business and have it grow. Instead, I wanted to kind of reap the benefits, early, like prematurely, instead of reaping much bigger benefits later down the road. And I really wasn't taking the money seriously. Like, I was not being a good steward of it. And I did not have, like, a good self-discipline. So that was mistake number 1. And mistake number 2 is I did not ask for advice. So I would just try to figure it all out by myself. And I did not really like reach out to other business owners in my church and say, like, hey, what are your advice for me? I didn't reach out to people like, I didn't listen to a podcast like this where I heard somebody else's mistakes. I didn't really think to learn. I just wanted to, like, do. I just wanted to rush into it and just be like, well, I think I can just figure it out, So I didn't really ask for advice. I didn't do a lot of research. I didn't really watch, YouTube videos and stuff like that on how to do it. I think that's a really good thing that you should do. You should definitely not think about it too much. You should definitely, if you're considering starting a business, just do it, but do it more wisely than I did. And then third mistake I'll say is, just not treating the business seriously. If you If you treat your business like a big business, eventually it will be a big business. But I treated my small business as a small business. I didn't treat it differently. So
I like that.
yeah.
That's really good. It's like a mindset difference.
Yeah, I was very lenient with myself. If I did not have work lined up for 2 of the days, like I had three days of work and 2 days of no work, guess what I used those 2 days for?
Nothing.
Well, I just had fun. I'm like, all right, these are my days to have fun, to hang out. I would like plan a trip to the beach or something like that with my friends, or I would focus on some hobbies that I had. And so instead of using my days off as time to reorganize my business, to like reorganize my work van, to um, do more ads online, to maybe create content. What else? I could reach out to property management companies and be like, hey, you guys are in charge of like 100 condos. Like, how can I get in with you guys? Instead, I would just wait for that phone call of like people, calling me. Kind of, there's a million things I could have done on those off days, but I just used them kind of for my own pleasure, which was a horrible mistake. And that's something that you should learn is if you're going to be your own boss, you have to be very disciplined. You have to be ready to work at least 9 to 5 on 5 days a week, right? If you don't have that day, don't treat it as a fun day. Treat it as an office day where from 9 to 5, you're going to at least be contacting property management companies, realtors in your area. You're going to be contacting churches or businesses or whatever that you drive by and you see their roof is in terrible shape. You're going to say, hey, I've drove by, I kind of noticed a lot of moss on your roof. Can I have the honor of giving you a quote? Like, can I have the privilege of that? And it'll be a free estimate. You don't have to pay me for it. I just want to give you a price. Things like that, you should definitely do. And if you're going to be your own boss, then you have to push yourself like you would be pushed by a different boss.
That's really good. So those are all the mistakes that the big ones that someone else doesn't have to make, essentially.
Yeah, well, also, you came down here to help me with what? A roofing project, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
So,
that is a good one. You should embellish on that just a little bit.
So recently, I've kind of realized like I do all aspects of roof maintenance. Roof cleaning, gutter guard installations, exterior cleaning, roof repairs. I do those, but I have never got into roofing, like re-roofing a roof, putting a new roof on. And a lot of the clients that I have been taking care of over these last like 6 years, a lot of them just kind of like got a new roof and like went. I didn't feel like they went behind my back, but I'm like, oh, I've been taking care of that roof, but like they just paid somebody a lot of money to get a new roof because they felt it was time. And I would ask them like, oh, how much was that? And they'd be like, well, this was like $20,000. And I'm like, oh man, okay. And then another time, a client's like, yeah, you've been doing a good job taking care of it, but I feel like that it's at the end of its life. And I would agree. Do you replace roofs? And I'm like, no, I don't. And I maybe said, no, I don't, maybe 5, 6 times. And I'm like, why don't I? Like, why don't I do this? And the reason is because I'm scared. Like, I don't know how to do roofing. And when you don't know how to do something, you're scared of it because fear is of the unknown. So just recently, a client asked me, do you do like re-roofing? And I said, yes, I do.
And there it started.
There it started, yeah. I just said, yes, I do that. And he's like, oh, great. I've got 2 rental properties I just purchased right next to each other, and I need both of those roofs repaired. I'm like, great, I can do that. And he's like, give me a price. So I called David, because you have some experience with roofing. I'm like, hey, how much would you charge for something like this? How much should I count for? What's the time? And I gave him a quote, and the guy accepted it. So I don't have a license to do roofing work, but that's what I'm in the process of working on now. And I got those 2 roofs scheduled for March. So I've got, 2 months to figure out getting a license, getting extra insurance for that, and then, like it's gonna go. And since then I've already got 2 other estimates for roofing that I haven't even searched for. So it's like a huge mistake is, why didn't I do this in the very beginning? Why didn't I figure this out earlier? Because I was scared of it. I'm like, well, I'm not touching roofing. I don't know what to do. So yeah, just don't be scared of things. Just
Yeah.
try it.
And you can bring people, like he called me one day because I do construction, and we started talking about the roof. So no, we didn't get to do it this time. We ended
Yeah.
up just helping you and hanging out, which was amazing. It was loads of fun. But now he's getting into roofing, and he's going to make more money, right? And he's going to actually help. One of the other things I really like about these business ideas is he's not only providing a good income for him and his family, where he can actually be flexible to do missions. He can be flexible to implement, like for an example, in a minute I'll have you talk about your coffee cart idea and doing that. But he's also giving other people work. He gave me and Micaiah some work this week, which was great. He hires 1 or 2 other guys, mostly full time, to work for him, and they even do work when he's gone. And so he's not only is he making good money, but he's also employing other people to just provide for themselves and their families to some degree. So go ahead and actually, while I'm thinking about it, let's start. Tell us about the coffee cart and how. By the way, he is amazing at coffee. Like, one of the things that I love coming down here is, like, we're staying at his house. I get amazing coffee every morning.
10 times a day.
10 times a
I'm
day.
like, please let me make it.
It's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. Anyway,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, I'm an absolute coffee snob, and the funny thing is, I like making coffee way more than I like drinking coffee. So, I love drinking coffee, but making it has always been a passion of mine because I feel like I know how to make it right, and I'm really passionate about, just getting it right, getting into the details, and just sharing that with other people, and kind of looking for that, like, oh, okay, that was good, from like somebody. Um, I've wanted to, do coffee since I was maybe 13, 14. I started, making coffee, and then actually I did some work for a guy doing a video, like really early on. I was a teenager, and he actually, instead of paying me, he's like, "Hey, do you want my old espresso machine?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Instead of paying me, I'll just give you that." I'm like, "Awesome, yeah." So I took that, and immediately, as soon as I learned it, I started taking it to church for events and making coffee for people just for free because I wanted to, and I was buying expensive beans and like making it for people and everything. And then I upgraded to a better one because that one broke, and then a better one, and whatnot. Now,
So what do you do? Because
yeah.
I guess, so we had a friend of ours get married.
Yeah,
You did the coffee at her wedding.
yeah,
You do coffee in your church. You kind of help set that up. So I mean,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
experiences.
One of the ministries in my church is my wife and I. We run the church coffee shop, and we set that up 2 years ago. And it's it runs on all the church services, and we do free coffee for weddings for the members of our church. They just have to cover the cost of supplies. And then, for our friends, like, we came over and we did coffee at the wedding, me and my wife, because we both like doing it. So I was thinking about it, and I'm like, me and my wife, Christina, we really enjoy doing coffee. I feel like we're good at it. We can make a good cup of joe. So why not use this opportunity to actually turn that into a business? But then again, I'm kind of afraid, right? I've been afraid for a while, but now I'm thinking about it, and I would like this to be bigger than myself. Like, I don't want this to be another kind of hustle income for, like, just to get more money for myself. I actually want to serve God with this, and I would love for, like, a good portion of the income to go to missionaries, to be mission focused. So if we can support some missionaries, with this coffee cart, like, that means God's on the side, like, God's on our side for this. And if it fails, hey, at least we tried. So yeah, I'm planning to right now start ordering things for it. Start ordering the machine, the cart, like the grinder, the different things that I need, and just start small. Maybe do some events outside the church. Typically, to hire a coffee cart at a wedding, it can cost from like $1,000 to $3,000. So it's not bad. Um, so we'll start. Me and Christina will. I'll hopefully take some of the mistakes I made from the business of
The
this
first
and
one.
and use them, some of
Yeah.
my own advice, and we'll see how it goes. But some advice I have for you guys is, if you're working a 9 to 5 job or whatever, you're working for somebody and you feel like you're kind of stuck, like you can start a business on the side. You don't have to just drop everything, quit, and then like you're kind of stuck. Just start on the side. Start by the first step. Figure out what you want to do. How you can do that is just figure out what you're good at. Maybe maybe you're good at coffee and you can start a coffee cart in your area. Maybe you're good at videos or pictures and you can start small. Do some weddings for very cheap. Bless somebody. Maybe do it for free. Gain experience. Maybe you're good at I don't know, RC cars or something, and you can build some really cool RC cars. You can sell them. Whatever it is that you're good at or you enjoy doing, figure out a way how that can make you money, and I promise you it can make you money as long as you put your energy and time into it. Like people in this generation, they want the most amount of money for the least amount of work. So they research like careers that they think will give them a lot of money by doing a little bit of work, but it's never gonna fly. Like that doesn't actually happen like that. If you're gonna put in, you know, if you're gonna put in a lot of time and energy into something, it will be successful. It's almost like a rule. Like, and if it's not, at least you have the experience under your belt. So yeah, hey, I'm gonna go on a journey soon with the coffee thing. I encourage anybody listening here as well, like go on that journey, start a business. It's actually easier than you think.
Yeah. And what kind of freedom or what does life look like when it comes to doing missions trips and doing things of that nature? Because obviously you're busy running a business,
Yeah.
and but the perk of that is you get to dictate when you're busy on what things. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're working a 9 to 5, you're stuck essentially, unless you have a really good boss or he's a Christian and he lets you go, to do stuff. That's true, but really you're never gonna grow. Like you're never really gonna grow much in an hourly rate. But you can't, the sky's the limit for a business. And your availability can be dictated by you. So what were some things that, like, how do you run a business being gone? You've been with our church to Zambia 3 times. You just got back from, where was it again?
Ghana.
Ghana. I know you've gone up to Alaska to do some family stuff, and you've taken some other trips. You're about to go to Florida to visit family for like a month and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and you're able to do that, and you're actually still making money while doing that. So I guess let us, like, how do you plan for those events, and how those are perks of owning your own business? Kind of talk us through that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's just get the lies out of the way. I've been to Zambia with your church twice.
Twice,
Not three
twice.
times.
Sorry,
So I've been to Africa 3 times, to Mexico maybe
that's
four.
exactly what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
To Mexico maybe 4 or 5 times, to Moldova and Ukraine, and then um, a few other places that I'm forgetting. But with owning my business, the way I kind of had it set up, I have usually, when I'm gone, I usually have one guy or two working full time for jobs that I have scheduled for that weekend. All I have to do is just to make sure that, you know, they know what they're doing. So I'll like write out, a detailed explanation for the day for them. This address at 9 a.m. I need the roof and gutter cleaning, moss treatment, whatever. Check with the customer, make sure they're happy. Moving on, this next address, 11 a.m. or or 12 or whatever, this is what they need. And as long as I can write out like a detailed report for the day, I can have somebody that I trust, come pick up the van, do the work, drop it up, pick up the payments, drop off the checks and the keys and go home and whatever. So that's how I'm able to run a business while I am away. And during the time that I have been in Africa, on the mission trips, I was able to, at least 2 of those times, I was able to have the guys do quite a bit of work while I'm gone. And it's almost healthy for the guys as well, to be able to take on more responsibility, knowing that I'm not available to answer the phone most of the time. If something goes wrong, they've got to figure it out by themselves. They've got to make some critical decisions that they'd call me and ask me to make. Instead, they have to do it. So it's actually a win-win. When I'm going to Florida, there, you said I'm going to Florida for a month and a half. That's pretty soon. And the reason I'm going is because my parents live there. And I have not seen them very much. And they haven't really seen my baby girl, Hadassah, very much. So, I felt like it was the right thing to do for me and Christina to move there for like a month and a half and to live with my parents, that they can kind of get to know the baby more, their granddaughter. We can kind of connect with my parents more, catch up with them. But also, I'm gonna take that time and focus on growing the online aspect of my business, because I'm the kind of person that I would rather do the physical work than do any of the organizational work. But I will be forced to do that, over the computer and whatnot, just kind of reorganize my business, and that will, give me the flexibility to be where I'd like to be in the world, and at the same time actually be able to not only run the business, but in a way organize it and grow it when I'm away. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the really cool. I just love it. I love hearing about it and seeing it. And I'm actually, hopefully he'll come, but I'm working on him coming to visit me in Romania.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, that's really cool. And guys, owning a business, it frees you up in many ways. And it's also very productive. For an example, God sends missionaries out. Like, I'm kind of one of those guys where I don't own a business. Churches are supporting me to go to a foreign field and do work, right? That's just where God has me right now, and it's great. We need both. We need people that are home, raising their families, starting businesses, and helping their church, supporting their missionaries, and then getting to the point where they can also enable young men and women around them to have a successful business, to just be accountable, to do business well. I think it's something that we really lack in in some of our circles. The circle I grew up in was kind of more like spiritually minded. Like, that's not a bad thing, but essentially what I mean is we're not going to worry about business. We're not going to worry about making money. We're just going to like fly by the seat of our pants and just go to some country and just start doing stuff and helping churches and build churches, stuff like that. And that's good. Some people are built for that. But we need the backup. We need people to support. That's biblical. Something I thought was interesting. When you see Paul traveling around, he had a network of people that helped him and that took him from one place to the other. He had Luke was a doctor that went with him and helped take care of his wounds when he was wounded or whatnot in the team. He stayed with people wherever he went. And the other thing too is that this was something just interesting statistically is an average, like in our U.S. military, we need anywhere from 3 to 5 logistical military personnel for every one man on the front line. So for every man on the front line, it logistically takes 3 to 5 guys to support him while he's there.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
So yeah, so there's, a lot of times we think about this frontline guy, this guy that's doing, but you need cooks, you need drivers, you need people doing paperwork, you need all of this, you need maintenance, you need people that design the vehicles that you drive on the front lines, you need people that build your weapons, that build the bullets, that do all of these things. And they're the supporters of the front line. And it's the same way in the Christian worldview. in the Christian realm. Like we need people, we need base churches, we need people to support people that spread the gospel further, that push that front line against the gates of hell. We need that support group. And not all of us are going to be that guy running around on the front lines. A lot of us have families, and sometimes I feel bad because some church people, I don't think honestly this is much of a problem in America, but it does happen. They kind of feel guilted. Oh, I'm not going and doing stuff. Well, if you're not going to do stuff on the mission field because God actually hasn't called you there, then be effective where you're at. Be effective in business. Be effective with your family. Like that's just as good than being on the mission field. Anyway, but
Yeah, I know we're running short in time, but I wanted to just kind of end with some advice.
totally.
Yeah, some advice that honestly I would have liked to hear, earlier. Um, First piece of advice is figure out the why. Like, why are you wanting to start a business or do what you're doing? What is it for? And Brother Roman White from Skyview Baptist Church, good friend of mine, he once told me, he's like, if you want your business to grow so that it can be for yourself, he's like, forget about it. Like it's not going to happen. It's not a good enough reason. That's a terrible reason. Like, why would God want that? Figure out why you're doing it. Is it, and it says that everything that, the Bible says everything we should do is for the glory of God. Do it as if you're doing it for God. So he's like, treat the business the same way, like you are doing it for the glory of God. So every aspect of the business, think about why you're doing it. Like, why are you here to give this person a price? If you're going to be thinking about yourself and your pockets, you're going to be more likely to try and rip them off. You really have to. Sometimes before I give an estimate on my way there, I pray and I say, God, I don't know this family situation, but they need their roof and gutters clean. I'd like to make a good profit off of this, but I need your wisdom and what number to give them. I don't know their situation, but you do. And so I try to pray, ask the why, and sometimes I have a good connection with them talking as well. But figure out why you want to do it, and if it's for the glory of God, why wouldn't God bless that? And if it's to support your family, and if it's to further the kingdom of God, those are all great reasons. But if you want to start a business so that you can have nicer things and that you can live a lavish lifestyle, like, just don't do it. It's not worth it. Another piece of, advice I have for you guys is, to save money. Right now I have a mortgage. Well, I bought a house 2 years ago. It's like 1948. It's pretty old. It doesn't have heating or cooling, so, we've got portable air conditioners and heaters and stuff. But there's a mortgage. It's my first home. After utilities and everything here in Washington State, I'm paying about $3,000 a month for it. And I'm thinking back to the days when I lived with my parents 3, 4, 5 years ago. I did not have that mortgage. So that is easily $3,000 that I could have been saving every month if I would just have, imagined that I am where I am right now. So if you guys are living with your parents right now, think about the current rental prices in your area, and just, let's say that God blesses you and you get married in about a year or something like that, and you're going to have to, regardless whether you like it or not. You're not going to live at your parents' house. Well, hopefully not, but, each situation has their own thing. But you're going to probably live in an apartment or a home. Take the price of that, and that's exactly how much you can be saving right now. So don't spend that money. Live like you have a mortgage. Live like you have a rent to pay, and take that money and save it and use it for something else. That's not what I did. I used that extra $3,000 each month to just spend it on something, right? Failure does not mean bad. So if you are scared to start a business because you're scared of failing, that's not a good reason. failing does not mean that's a bad thing. If anything, you will have more experience under your belt and you will know what to do different next time. And so that should only drive you further. So don't be scared to fail. I'm going to butcher this. I don't really remember this like quote or phrase, but it goes something like this. 80% of the people spend 80% of their time, thinking about doing something and thinking about starting something, and they only spend 20% of that time actually trying it. But there's another 20% of people, the other half of the people that they spend 20% of the time kind of thinking about things and like maybe researching, and 80% of the time trying it out. At the end of like 6 months, even if that 20% has failed in what they tried, they're still on the same exact page as the 80% of the people that have just thought about it. Even if they're at rock bottom again, those people still haven't even started. So it's like, which category do you want to be in? Do you want to be in the 80% of people that are just like constantly thinking about stuff and scared to actually put their foot down? Or do you want to be in that 20% of people that actually just take that step and hey, if it flops, it flops, but at least you have that experience now and you tried. So I would encourage you guys, just whatever you're researching, that's enough research. Just go out and start it. Go out and try it. Go out and like put your foot down. At least get your boots on, lace them up, and like get out the door. Hey, if it's too scary out there, go back inside the house. But like, at least get out the door.
That's really good. There's actually a parable that comes to mind. Matthew 25:14 is the start of the parable of the talents. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially what happened was God gave different amounts of talents to different servants. And he told them to essentially invest it. Here's your talents. Here's your gifting. I'm moving the parable over to like what it implies. Here's your gifting. Now go do that thing. Go use it wisely. And there's different men that did different things. Some increased it by 5-fold or 50% by investing it or doing something with it. Some increased it by 100-fold. And then there was one guy that actually took the talent that God gave him and he buried it in the ground. And he was like, I'm just going to leave it here. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to leave it. And I'll just give him that one talent back. And the thing is, when the man came back, or when God came back, the man pulled that thing out of the ground, that talent, and gave it back. And he was actually condemned. He was actually thrown into the fire because he didn't do anything with the talent God gave him. He just said, I knew you were an angry man. I knew you were going to this and that. He's like, why didn't you at least invest it? Why didn't you at least put it into something else that was profitable? He was so afraid of losing it, he never did anything. And God condemned him for not doing anything. And that's something that we should take to heart. And a lot of us have failed. A lot of us have spent years not doing much. And that shouldn't be a hindrance to not do something. Do something with your life, whether that's if God's leading you toward doing missions more full-time or things of that nature, if God's getting you to start a business. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm running a podcast. I'm actively trying to figure out how I can do it effectively and help others do it and actually make some money off of podcasting eventually.
And you started, which is awesome.
Yeah, I started not knowing honestly anything, just flying by the seat of my pants and just doing what I could to figure it out.
You could have still been thinking about this.
That's true.
And researching it, but you're here doing it, which is so cool.
Yeah, and it's true. You just got to start somewhere. And I would say kind of what Vlad said earlier, do something that you're passionate about. Like I've actually been passionate about this kind of stuff. I started a blog years ago and I ran it for like a year or something. And then I had to bring it to an end, but do something you're passionate about. I am passionate about this and I enjoy it, even though it's hard work. And another misnomer is just because you like it doesn't mean it's not work. Like making coffee, right? You had to spend time and actual work doing it.
Yeah.
As much as you like it, it'll eventually become a job because you do it so often.
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed the time always goes faster. The work is much more enjoyable when you're doing something that you enjoy. Anyway,
Do you
but
remember when I said that I've been interested in video since I was like a teenager?
we talked about it, but I don't think if you want to tell that
I
story.
think I mentioned it here in the beginning. That before nursing, I was deciding what to do in college, and there was no film program or whatever. But like looking back onto that, that's something I was so passionate about. But I went with the practical choice, which was nursing, which by the way I wasn't passionate about. But I know because I was like, I can't make that much money. It's probably not gonna work. All of this doubts and fears about pursuing like filming. Looking back on it, if I would have spent half the amount of time that I spent in the school for the nursing prerequisites and tests and all that late night cramming, if I would have spent even half of that into like researching, doing, trying, practicing, like filming with like camera and stuff, for sure would have been successful. So it's like whatever you put your time and energy into, it will be successful. You just have to do that. And that's actually maybe one of my regrets. Like I could have been making money doing something I really love, filming, but that's something I didn't do because I was scared.
Yeah. So you can't leave this podcast thinking that it's all a failure. I hope someone leaves this podcast thinking, okay, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to
Yeah,
do
for
something
sure.
effective and something
Yeah.
that will help in the future, whether it's providing for your family, providing for yourself on the mission field. And just remember, like, the reason that we're having this conversation is because we're going for the Lord. Vlad loves the Lord. He's really put a lot of stuff, a lot of time and effort into seeking the Lord, into following what God wants for him to do. I've done the same, and we just want to follow God and being good stewards of our lives. A business is actually a decent part of that. God wants us to be wise with our money. There's multiple scriptures that talk about us being effective in our life, even outside of missions. There's some very successful businessmen in the Bible as well. So be effective. It's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. We all do. If you don't fail, I'd say there's something wrong or it was probably too easy for you. But Vlad, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I feel like maybe you've painted it in a way of like where I have it pretty good, with the roof cleaning business and everything. But you were talking about failures, and I have to mention that the Lord loves me way too much to have this all be pretty easy for me.
True story.
Yeah, no, he needs to take me through trials with the business, and every single person, whether you start a business, it's not that simple, it's not that easy, and the Lord loves you too much to let you have it all very easy. Because, what character would you develop from an easy flowing business? So, like last summer, we've had a super, super difficult financial time with my wife, Christina, and with the business just super slowing down. And it's like you can't really pinpoint it to this or that, but we're like, okay, we're not shopping at Safeway anymore. We're gonna go to Winco. It's a little cheaper there now. All right, we're whipping out the calculator. Like we're gonna make sure we're budgeting really well, and it really made us think and really made us trust. And I remember praying like every night, like, Lord, please bless my work. Please send me more clients my way. And I had to, kind of scramble and start trying to like, how can I advertise? Well, I wasn't preparing for this time. It's like, the Lord led me through a hard time, and I believe that He will continue leading me through hard times because He loves me and wants to teach me to rely on Him.
Yeah, no, I definitely totally agree. If anything, there was a quote I heard by a mentor of mine. He said, anything, I'm sure many people have said this, but anything worth having isn't free, except salvation. That's a free gift. But other than that, anything else takes work. A successful business takes lots of work. A successful relationship of any kind takes understanding and work if it's to go on in any length of time. So, Vlad, thank you so much. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I enjoyed my time here with you, and still gonna, stay the night and go on your way back to Idaho tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'll be. Yeah, hang out some more, go to church,
Mm-hmm.
hang out with some friends. Actually, tonight we're visiting a missionary
Yeah, we are.
from Ghana.
Yep.
That'll be great. And then off to the races.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Like, subscribe, comment, your likes and dislikes. I want to hear all of it. And thank you all for listening. You guys have a great rest of your night, afternoon, morning. You guys have a good one.